Have you ever noticed how the wealthy rarely talk about what actually makes them wealthy? People assume it's luck, privilege, or some hidden opportunity. But the truth is, what separates them isn't the money itself, but the mindset behind it. It's like a dead battery that never charges. You can press the button 100 times, but it won't spark life because the foundation is already drained. Or think of a watch that's always stuck on the wrong time. It still ticks, it still looks like it's working, but it leads you astray with every glance. That's what happens when people chase money without principles. They look busy, they look successful, but they're running on emptiness, guided by a broken compass. Wealthy people don't live like that. They replace the broken parts before the whole system collapses, because they know lasting success is built on discipline, not illusions. Because real wealth isn't built by chance, it's built by principle. And the moment you stop looking for shortcuts, you start seeing the patterns that were always there. The wealthy don't chase, they build. They don't react, they prepare. They don't follow trends, they live by timeless truths. So the question is, what are those hidden habits? The unspoken success secrets the rich quietly live by, but never broadcast. Stay with me until the end, because the last one might just change how you see wealth forever. Let's get started. Number 1, they value time more than money. Let's talk about one of the most overlooked yet powerful secrets of the wealthy. They value time more than money. For most people, money is seen as the ultimate resource. They work long hours chasing it, trade their health and energy for it, and believe that more money will solve all their problems. But those who are truly wealthy see things differently. They understand that while money can be lost and earned again, time is the one resource you can never replenish. Once a day is gone, it's gone forever. This is why the wealthy guard their hours with discipline. They don't waste their mornings scrolling endlessly through social media. They don't spend hours in arguments that lead nowhere. They don't fill their schedules with meaningless obligations that drain their energy but add no value. Instead, they treat every hour as an investment, choosing carefully what deserves their attention and what doesn't. Here's the truth. The difference between the wealthy and everyone else often comes down to how they treat time. A person with average income might focus on saving a few dollars by doing something themselves, while a wealthy person will gladly pay for convenience if it buys back their time. Why? Because they know they can use that time to think, strategize, or build something that generates 10 times more value. To them, time is leverage, the foundation of all wealth. This is where Stoic wisdom fits in perfectly. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Do not waste the little life you have in distraction." Life is short, and the moments we lose in trivial pursuits don't just vanish. They subtract from the time we have to create, to grow, to live with purpose. The wealthy internalize this truth deeply. They structure their days to eliminate distractions, to delegate tasks that don't require their focus, and to free themselves for the things that actually move their life forward. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Robert, built a successful tech company. In the early days, he tried to do everything himself: accounting, customer service, even designing his website. He thought he was saving money by not hiring help, but all it did was drain his energy and stretch his days thin. Eventually, Robert realized that while he was saving a little money, he was wasting enormous amounts of time. So he started outsourcing tasks, delegating responsibilities, and focusing only on the work that only he could do, leading the company, developing strategy, and making big decisions. That shift transformed everything. Within a few years, his company skyrocketed, not because he worked harder, but because he worked smarter. So how do you apply this principle? First, audit your time. Ask yourself, where am I spending hours that give me little return? Second, learn to delegate. Whether it's at work or in personal life, stop hoarding tasks that someone else could handle. Third, treat your hours like money. Would you casually throw away a $100 bill? Then don't casually throw away an hour on something meaningless. At the end of the day, the wealthy aren't obsessed with money because they already know money follows value. What they're obsessed with is time, protecting it, investing it, and using it wisely. Because while money comes and goes, time only goes. And the person who learns to master their time will never struggle to create wealth. Number 2, they master self-control. Let's talk about another secret of the wealthy that often goes unspoken: their mastery of self-control. In a world filled with distractions, temptations, and instant gratification, most people give in to whatever impulse feels good in the moment. They chase pleasures, buy things they don't need, and let emotions dictate their decisions. But the wealthy understand something deeper. True power isn't found in obeying desire. It's found in directing it. Here's the truth. Wealth isn't only about making money. It's about building the kind of discipline that ensures you keep it, grow it, and use it wisely. Without self-control, even great fortune slips away. History is filled with examples of people who rose quickly, only to lose everything because they couldn't master themselves. They spent recklessly, indulged every craving, and acted on emotion rather than principle. The wealthy who stay wealthy, however, live by restraint. They don't chase every impulse. They choose what aligns with their values and long-term vision. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Think about that. Freedom isn't about doing whatever you want whenever you want. That's slavery to impulse. Real freedom is when you can look temptation in the eye and say no. It's when you choose discipline over distraction, purpose over pleasure, growth over instant gratification. That's the kind of mastery that allows wealth, both financial and personal, to grow steadily instead of being wasted. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Michael, came into sudden money after selling a small startup. Overnight, his bank account was fuller than it had ever been. At first, he did what most people would do. He splurged. New cars, lavish vacations, expensive clothes. It felt good for a while, but within 2 years, most of his money was gone. Why? Because he never learned self-control. He obeyed every impulse, never thinking about tomorrow. Now, contrast that with another entrepreneur I know, Emily. She also sold her business, but instead of indulging every whim, she paused. She created a plan, invested wisely, and controlled her spending. 10 years later, her wealth hasn't just remained, it has multiplied. The difference wasn't luck, it was discipline. So how do the wealthy practice self-control in daily life? First, they master their emotions. They don't make decisions when they're angry, afraid, or overly excited. They wait, they reflect, they choose calmly. Second, they delay gratification. Instead of chasing immediate rewards, they invest in what will pay off in the future, whether that's in their business, health, or relationships. Third, they set rules for themselves. It might be a spending rule, a time management rule, or even a simple daily habit, but they stick to it, no matter what. Think about it like this. Your impulses are like wild horses. If you let them run free, they'll drag you wherever they want, usually to places you don't want to go. But if you learn to guide them, to control their energy, they can carry you further than you ever imagined. That's the difference between people who drift through life and those who build lasting wealth. At the end of the day, the wealthy don't see self-control as punishment. They see it as power, because the person who can master themselves will always be stronger than the person who lets desires master them. Money without discipline is fragile, but when paired with self-control, it becomes a foundation for freedom, stability, and lasting success. True success isn't about having everything. It's about having the power to say no to what doesn't serve you, so you can say yes to what truly matters. And that's a lesson the wealthy live by every single day. If you found this valuable, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights. Number 3, they turn setbacks into leverage. Let's talk about a success secret that separates the wealthy from everyone else: their ability to turn setbacks into leverage. Most people see failure as the end of the road. They hit an obstacle, stumble, and assume it means they're not cut out for the journey. But the wealthy think differently. To them, a setback isn't a dead end. It's raw material. It's fuel. It's the exact thing that, if used correctly, can propel them forward stronger than before. Here's the truth. Rich people grow richer because they don't run from obstacles, they transform them. When others see problems, they see opportunities. When others stop at rejection, they use it as feedback. They don't waste time asking, "Why me?" Instead, they ask, "What can I learn from this? How do I use it to my advantage?" And that's why failure doesn't crush them. It sharpens them. This principle comes straight from Stoic wisdom. Marcus Aurelius famously said, "What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, obstacles aren't detours. They are the path itself. Every challenge you face is an invitation to grow. The wealthy internalize this mindset. They don't avoid difficulty, they welcome it, because they know that on the other side of that struggle is a lesson, an advantage, or a strength that no easy road could ever give them. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him David, tried to launch a business straight out of college. He put his savings into it, worked tirelessly, and believed it would take off. But within a year, it failed. He was devastated. Most people in his situation would have quit, maybe taken a safe job, and never looked back. But David didn't see it that way. He studied his mistakes, realized he lacked marketing knowledge, and began learning everything he could about sales and branding. 2 years later, he launched another business. This time, armed with lessons from his first failure, it flourished. Today, he's not just successful, he's wealthy, and he often says, "If my first business hadn't failed, my second would never have worked." His setback became his leverage. So how do the wealthy turn setbacks into stepping stones instead of stumbling blocks? First, they detach from emotion. They don't let shame or embarrassment cloud their thinking. They analyze failure logically. Second, they extract the lesson. Every misstep holds information about timing, strategy, people, or even themselves. The wealthy mine failures for insights like gold. Third, they redirect. Instead of wasting time dwelling, they channel the energy into their next move, stronger and smarter than before. Think of setbacks like weights in the gym. To an untrained person, the weight feels overwhelming. But to someone who keeps lifting, every repetition makes them stronger. The same is true in life. Every obstacle you face, every failure you endure is building muscle, mental, emotional, and financial, that you can leverage later. At the end of the day, The wealthy don't avoid setbacks, they embrace them. Because they know that setbacks are not signals to stop, they are signals to grow. And with every obstacle they overcome, they add another layer of resilience, wisdom, and strength that money alone can't buy. What stands in the way becomes the way, and the people who learn to turn setbacks into leverage are the ones who transform failure into fortune. Number 4, they build networks, not just incomes. Let's talk about one of the most overlooked secrets of lasting wealth. The wealthy don't just build incomes, they build networks. Most people think of wealth as money in the bank, assets or investments. And yes, those matter. But ask any truly wealthy person, and they'll tell you, real wealth is also about trust, influence, and alliances. Connections can open doors that money alone never could. A strong network multiplies opportunities in ways that working alone never will. Here's the truth. Wealthy people know that one powerful relationship can change the entire trajectory of their lives. While the average person focuses only on increasing their paycheck, the wealthy are busy nurturing connections with mentors, partners, like-minded peers, and even competitors who can teach them something valuable. They don't just attend events or exchange business cards, they build trust. They create alliances based on value, not on short-term gain. They understand that influence, credibility, and reputation are currencies just as important as cash. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Seneca once said, "Associate with those who make you better." Wealthy people live by this. They are deliberate about who they spend time with. They know that if you surround yourself with negativity, laziness, or small thinking, you'll be pulled down to that level. But if you place yourself among ambitious, disciplined, forward-thinking people, their energy pulls you upward. Wealth, then, becomes less about what you have and more about who you know and who you're becoming in the process. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Rachel, started her career with very little. She wasn't born into wealth, but she had one skill. She was excellent at building relationships. Instead of chasing only money, she invested time in connecting with people in her industry, offering help where she could, learning from those ahead of her, and creating real trust. Over time, her network became her greatest asset. When she launched her own business, she didn't struggle to find investors, clients, or collaborators. They were already in her circle. Her income grew, yes, but more importantly, her influence grew. And today, she'll tell you, my network is worth far more than my bank account. So how do the wealthy build networks that last? First, they lead with value. They don't approach relationships asking, "What can I get?" but rather, "What can I give?" Second, they protect their reputation. In wealthy circles, your word and your trustworthiness are more powerful than any contract. Third, they stay intentional. They don't waste time maintaining connections that drain them. Instead, they cultivate circles that challenge them, inspire them, and elevate their vision. Think about it like this. Money is like a tool, but a network is like a force multiplier. You could build something small with your own effort, but when you have a network, your reach, your influence, and your opportunities expand far beyond what you could do alone. At the end of the day, the wealthy know that wealth isn't measured only in dollars. It's measured in relationships. Money can buy comfort, but a strong network can buy opportunities, resilience, and legacy. The right people in your circle will open doors you didn't even know existed. And that's why wealthy people never just build incomes, they build networks that carry them further than money ever could. If you've watched the video this far, don't forget to leave a comment with a thank God and give it a like if you enjoyed the content. Your support means a lot and motivates me to keep creating more interesting videos. I hope you find inspiration in them and that we continue learning together. Thank you for your support. Number 5. They think long-term, act daily. Let's talk about another unspoken secret of the wealthy, their ability to think long-term while acting daily. Most people want quick wins. They chase short-term thrills, instant profits, flashy rewards, immediate recognition. But the wealthy understand that lasting success isn't built overnight. It's built through small, disciplined actions repeated every day, guided by a long-term vision. Here's the truth. Short-term thinking drains wealth, while long-term vision creates it. The average person gets caught in cycles of impulse, overspending when they feel good, quitting when things get hard, or abandoning projects if success doesn't come fast enough. Wealthy people resist that urge. They know that compound growth, whether in money, health, or wisdom, only happens when you stay consistent over time. They don't just dream of the horizon, they take the daily steps to walk toward it. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Epictetus said, "He who has a why can bear almost any how." Think about that. If your vision, your why, is strong enough, you'll endure the small struggles of today. Wealthy people don't see discipline as a burden. They see it as proof of commitment to their long-term goal. Skipping the short-term thrill is easy when you remember the bigger purpose behind your actions. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Anthony, started investing in real estate in his early 20s. His friends laughed when he passed on vacations or luxury cars to buy run-down properties that took years to pay off. But Anthony wasn't thinking about quick enjoyment. He was thinking about long-term freedom. He kept fixing, renting, reinvesting, while everyone else was chasing immediate pleasures. 20 years later, Anthony didn't just have properties, he had financial independence. His friends, meanwhile, were still working paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because Anthony was willing to trade short-term thrills for long-term stability. So how do the wealthy balance vision with daily discipline? First, they plan for decades, not days. They ask themselves, where do I want to be in 10 years? And what can I do today to move closer to that? Second, they stay consistent. They treat every day as an opportunity to invest in their health, their business, their relationships. Third, they let compounding do its work. They know that small steps, repeated consistently, eventually create massive results. Think about it like planting a tree. If you demand shade the day you put the seed in the ground, you'll be disappointed. But if you water it daily, protect it, and let time work, you'll one day rest under its branches. The wealthy understand this truth. They're not seduced by the thrill of quick wins. They're patient enough to wait for the lasting rewards of long-term effort. At the end of the day, wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. The rich grow richer not because of luck, but because they keep showing up daily with discipline while keeping their eyes fixed on the horizon. They think long-term, act daily, and let time become their greatest ally. Number 6. They refuse to be ruled by fear. Let's talk about one of the most powerful traits that separates the wealthy from the rest, their refusal to be ruled by fear. Fear is what keeps most people stagnant. It whispers reasons not to act, not to risk, not to step outside of what feels safe. And for many, that voice of fear wins. They avoid change, they avoid risk, and in doing so, they avoid growth. But wealthy people think differently. They know that the greatest opportunities often lie on the other side of uncertainty. And so, instead of running from fear, they learn to face it with courage and preparation. Here's the truth. Fear is the invisible chain that holds most people back. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of embarrassment. It all adds up to a life of hesitation. But the wealthy know that fear is not a signal to stop. It's a signal that you're moving towards something meaningful. Every great fortune, every breakthrough began with someone stepping into uncertainty. The difference is, wealthy people don't wait for fear to disappear. They act in spite of it. This principle is deeply rooted in Stoic wisdom. Seneca once said, "He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a living man." If you live ruled by fear, you will never achieve anything beyond mediocrity. The Stoics taught that life is fragile, short, and uncertain. Wasting it by playing small out of fear of what might happen is the surest way to regret. Wealthy people embrace this truth. They know that to grow, to build, to create lasting impact, you must accept risk, endure discomfort, and trust your ability to adapt. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Jessica, had an opportunity to invest in a new business venture early in her career. Everyone around her warned her not to do it. Too risky, too uncertain, too much chance of failure. Fear could have easily stopped her. But instead, she prepared carefully, weighed the risks, and chose to move forward anyway. That investment became the foundation of her financial independence. She often says, "If I had listened to fear, I'd still be wondering what if, instead of living my reality." So how do the wealthy keep fear from controlling their lives? First, they prepare. They don't step into the unknown recklessly. They do their homework, anticipate risks, and build a safety net. Second, they reframe fear. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" they ask, "What if this is the opportunity that changes everything?" Third, they act consistently. By taking small, calculated risks over time, they train themselves to become resilient. Fear becomes less of a barrier and more of a companion they've learned to walk beside. Think about it like this. Fear is like a shadow. It looks big and intimidating, but it has no substance. It only grows or shrinks depending on the light you shine on it. The wealthy shine the light of courage, discipline, and preparation, and in doing so, they shrink fear's power over their lives. At the end of the day, the wealthy don't let fear decide their future. They step forward with courage, trusting that even if they stumble, they'll learn, adapt, and rise stronger. And that's the secret. Fear may never disappear, but it doesn't have to rule you. Because the moment you refuse to let fear make your choices, you open the door to opportunities that most people will never even see. If you found this valuable, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights. Number 7, they protect energy ruthlessly. Let's talk about one of the least discussed but most vital secrets of the wealthy, their ability to protect their energy as carefully as they protect their wealth. Most people think success comes only from working harder, pushing longer hours, and saying yes to every opportunity. But the wealthy know that true success depends not just on what you do, but on what you don't do. They understand that their energy is their most precious resource, and they guard it with ruthless discipline. Here's the truth. Not every meeting, not every person, not every argument deserves your attention. The wealthy are highly selective about where they place their focus. They know that saying yes to everything means saying no to what truly matters. That's why they practice the art of decline. They decline invitations that don't align with their goals. They walk away from arguments that drain them. They don't engage in gossip, drama, or trivial pursuits. Instead, they preserve their energy for high-value decisions, creative thinking, and meaningful relationships. This principle comes directly from Stoic wisdom. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If you seek tranquility, do less, but do what is essential." Wealthy people embody this truth. They don't confuse busyness with productivity. They strip away what is unnecessary so they can focus on what is essential, whether that's building a business, nurturing their health, or deepening the relationships that uplift them. They treat their energy like capital, limited, valuable, and never to be wasted. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Daniel, was running a fast-growing company. In the beginning, he said yes to everything: investor calls, networking events, endless meetings. His schedule was packed, but he found himself constantly exhausted and making poor decisions. Finally, a mentor told him, "You don't have to attend every battle. You only have to win the ones that matter." That advice changed everything. Daniel started filtering his commitments, cutting meetings that didn't add value, and carving out time to rest and think. His energy returned, his decisions improved, and his company scaled to levels he couldn't reach before. So how do the wealthy protect their energy in daily life? First, they say no often. They understand that every yes is a trade-off. Second, they prioritize recovery, exercise, sleep, meditation, time with family. These aren't luxuries, they're necessities for long-term performance. Third, they maintain boundaries. They don't let negativity, toxic people, or endless distractions invade their mental space. Think about it like this. Your energy is like a battery. If you let everyone plug into it, you'll run out quickly. But if you're intentional, if you choose where that energy flows, you can power the things that matter most and keep yourself charged for the long journey. At the end of the day, the wealthy know that protecting their energy isn't selfish, it's strategic. Because when your energy is drained, your clarity, focus, and creativity disappear. But when you guard it ruthlessly, you stay sharp, resilient, and unstoppable. And that's why rich people aren't just rich in money. They're rich in time, focus, and vitality, because they've learned the wisdom of conserving their greatest resource, their own energy. Number 8. They live by principles, not trends. Let's talk about one of the most unshakable secrets of lasting wealth. The wealthy live by principles, not trends. Most people chase what's hot in the moment. Fads, quick schemes, flashy investments, the newest guaranteed moneymaker. They run wherever the crowd is going, believing that following the trend will lead to success. But the wealthy think differently. They understand that fortunes tied to fads fade quickly, while fortunes tied to principles endure for generations. Here's the truth. Trends are fleeting, but principles are timeless. A person who builds their financial future on hype is gambling, not growing. They may win once or twice, but sooner or later, the trend dies and takes their fortune with it. Wealthy people avoid this trap because they anchor their decisions in values like discipline, patience, and integrity. They'd rather follow proven strategies slowly than gamble on the latest fad quickly. This is why their wealth is not just created, it's sustained. And this is where Stoic wisdom shines. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, stop debating or chasing the noise of the moment. Live by your values. Be disciplined, consistent, and grounded in timeless principles, that stand strong no matter what the world around you is doing. The wealthy live by this. They don't get caught up in the chaos of markets, opinions, or peer pressure. Their compass is inward, not outward. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Christopher, watched his peers dive into one financial trend after another. Some made quick money in cryptocurrencies, others in get-rich-quick investments, and many showed off their temporary wins. But Christopher resisted. Instead of chasing the hype, he focused on a principle-driven approach, saving consistently, investing in assets with proven track records, and building businesses that solved real problems. Years later, many of his friends lost fortunes when the trends collapsed. Christopher, on the other hand, built stable, growing wealth. And today, he doesn't just have money, he has financial peace because his foundation isn't built on sand, but on stone. So how do the wealthy live by principles, not trends? First, they focus on what's timeless. Principles like discipline, honesty, patience, and consistency never go out of style. Second, they resist the noise. When everyone else is chasing the next big thing, they step back and ask, does this align with my values and long-term vision? Third, they prioritize legacy over novelty. They'd rather build something that lasts 50 years than something that's popular for 5 months. Think about it like this. Trends are like waves. They rise quickly, they look exciting, but they eventually crash. Principles are like the tide, steady, predictable, and always moving forward, no matter what storms come. The wealthy understand this, which is why they don't get swept up in the noise of every wave. They stay anchored, calm, and consistent. At the end of the day, the wealthy don't measure success by what's fashionable. They measure it by what endures. They know that living by principles guarantees stability, growth, and legacy, while chasing trends guarantees instability and regret. And that's the ultimate secret. Wealth that lasts isn't built on trends. It's built on timeless values that never fade. If you believe this video can help others, give it a like. It helps the YouTube algorithm show it to more people. And don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content coming your way. Share your thoughts in the comments. I will definitely reply.